Welcome to Ren Behind the Practice. I'm Sophie Campisi. I'm a holistic business strategist, and I spend a lot of my time in conversation with practitioners, coaches, and healers about the behind the scenes of their businesses. What I started noticing is that some of the most honest, important conversations about building a practice were happening quietly, one-on-one, behind the scenes, and often in isolation. Most practitioners are incredibly skilled at the work that they do with their clients, but very few of us were ever taught or trained in how to build a successful startup business. And suddenly, we're left trying to figure it out on our own. This podcast exists to bring those conversations forward, the dreams, the uncertainty, the highs and lows, the recalibrations, and the messy middle. My hope is that by normalizing these conversations, we can soften the stigma, feel less alone, and start closing the gaps together. Today's guest is Caren Cooper. Caren is the disco ball coach helping women shine bright. Caren, it is great to have you here. Thank you so much for showing up and having this conversation with me today.
Thank you for having me.
Before we look behind the scenes today, can you share with us a little bit about the work that you do?
I can. I have been doing this work about 2.5 years now. I'm actually a student. So the student became the teacher. So I'll make my story very short. I was a former corporate good girl, turned entrepreneur who was like, okay, I'm standing in my own way. And I couldn't figure out how to I was doing network marketing at the time. And I knew that I was a problem. I'm like Taylor Swift. I'm the problem. It's me. And my mentor, Tracy Litt, showed up serendipitously on a training call. And I started doing her work. Her work at the time is called Mind Magic. And it's the deep inner work. And one of the questions she asked was, what are you tolerating? Which was a great question. And that changed the trajectory of my life in various ways. But it made me really look inward at what I was tolerating and what I was doing. And so in the end, it made me transform so deeply, understanding who I was and what I was doing, that I decided that I wanted to facilitate this work for other women like myself, who midlife in transition are looking for clarity, but really it's our nervous systems are shot, and we've been in survival mode for a really, really long time. And we've been conditioning and the good girl and the people pleaser and doing for everybody else. And you go to college, you get married, you have 2.5 kids, that kind of thing. And now we're questioning every life choice known to man, held together by duct tape. All those, you know what I'm saying? We look successful on the outside, but on the inside, I'm fine means I'm dying. And so I really wanted to be the woman to help facilitate other women like myself come out of survivor mode into mind-body connection and into being able to be fully expressed and shine like the disco ball that they are.
Is the main way that you work with your clients, or that you envision working with your clients one-on-one, like a classic coaching style?
So I do have a program called Unscrew Yourself. So I do work with people on a one-on-one setting mostly, but I do offer group settings, and I'm working on doing like a disco ball collection, I'm calling it, and like doing like Pick My Brain and 30-day VIP sessions and stuff like that, because I know some people are not necessarily, they want to tiptoe a little bit. So I get that as well, because it is a deep dive into the inner. We do a lot of inner work. It's somatics. It's rewiring and reprogramming at the subconscious level, and it's somatics, energetics, and neuroscience. So there is a lot.
Are you doing this now full time, or are you working toward that?
I was doing it full time, and then life happened, and I had to get a full time job. So currently, I'm working a full time job, but not back in corporate. I didn't want to go back to corporate, so I'll say that. But so right now, I'm doing both. I'm doing both the coaching and full time job.
Okay, awesome. But your goal is ideally to build your practice so that you can do it full time?
I'm doing this full. There is no way I'm going to be doing both. Like I already like my 85-year-old self and I have lovely conversations, and she's not working full time and doing the coaching business. The coaching business, like it, when I write my goals, I have a 7-figure personal growth and development company. Like that's the big goal. So no, I'm not going to be working full time and coaching part time. It will be reversed.
When you look ahead to the next 6 to 12 months, what goals do you have for your work and for your business?
I love this question. I really do. I really like this question. So, I'm actually doing a workshop creating a magnetic vision. we talk about a 1 year from now vision. But my 1 year from now vision, honestly, is to actually be out of my full-time job. So to be out of my full-time job and to have enough money to have my coaching practice be my full-time job. That is that. And also, so I have two goals. One is business related, one is personal related. So that's my business goal. My business goal was to have it so that I'm keynote speaking. I'm really out there with my coaching business, helping people and earning the money and earning the income and making the impact so that I can do it full time. My second goal is not being able, so I'm divorcing and downside from a home to an apartment. And so my second goal in the next 12 months is to not be in an apartment, but to buy a home so that I don't have to pay rent and nobody has to tell me anything at this point.
What do you feel like it's going to take to get there, like actual action steps?
There's a few action steps, quite frankly. Number one is regulate the fuck out of myself, consistently keep a mind body connection, because that's what I teach, that's what I do. But it's also it's really a matter of when you evolve and when you grow and when you change, when you heal and grow and expand. Sometimes your mind, and that's not every time, your mind is going to play tricks on you because the brain is designed to keep us safe, right? So it's going to be like, wait, she's moving in the direction she's never moved before. Let's add everything in the kitchen sink at her to keep it the same. And so I'm going to work diligently on regulating my nervous system, saying it's safe. Do the thing and make it safe is what I say. Do the thing and make it safe. So that's one action step. And the second action step is support. I can't, nobody does this on their own. I don't care what anybody says. And so just asking for support. So like right now I'm in a sales group called The Table with Amy McGuire. I don't know her. Which is amazing. So doing stuff like that is aligned to me. Having fun and playing is another action step because fun and levity for the win. And I'm a big fat Toys R Us kid. Go watch my TED Talk. I talk all about that. And doing the work. So doing the actual work means setting up a system, which I'm actually going to do better at soon because I'm working with someone on that and actually doing it. So like not being, I'm tired and not being, I'm just connecting to my body means if I'm really tired, I'm going to take the time to rest. But if I'm not, it's not like, oh my God, no, I'm just excited. It's really connecting with my body in that sense too. And also resting. Like a lot of people think like, oh my God, we can't rest. We have to hustle and we have to move, which is a false thing. If your body is saying to you, like, listen, no, we're burning out. We need to just take a half a day. You take the half a day because it is an income producing activity because it helps you connect more to your body. So then you can really see things from a different perspective. Obviously reach outs and all those are, yes, the business acumen, yes, but those are really for me, the behind the scenes, so to speak, is more that than the reach outs and inviting people to in and asking for referrals and that kind of thing.
Absolutely. I mean, all of those are so powerful and also super clear. So I want to acknowledge that for you. And the second one that you said about asking for help, reaching out, this is something that for you to be able to say that so clearly and confidently is such a great place to be in. And I just did a podcast interview myself a few days ago. And she asked, like, if you gave people one bit of advice, what would it be? Understanding that competency is domain specific. If we don't have competency somewhere, we didn't do anything wrong. We just weren't taught it. Somewhere along the road, we weren't taught it, whether it's business or whether it's personal health and wellness, whether it's finances. We just don't know what we don't know. We aren't wrong for that. But what we do have responsibility for is reaching out and getting the help that we need and the support so that we can gain competency in that area. Because again, we're not wrong and there shouldn't be any guilt or shame for not knowing how to do something. But it is our responsibility to, once we're aware of that, gain the competency. How do we do that? We find coaches. We find ways to get educated and get the information and get the distinctions that we need to raise our competency there, because that's our life. At the end of the day, it is up to us. And instead of thinking about it as this big mountain and hurdle, I need to know how to do it. It's like, no, you just need to know actually how to find the right person to teach you how to do it. Have the skills to find good teachers and understand how to make those assessments and reach out. And so you saying that, I'm like, if you can have that mindset, not you, just like anyone, like that's actually the thing that will carry us through a lifetime of really getting to mastery, because here on earth, like we are going to be in beginnership over and over and over again our whole entire life. Like from the moment we're born to the moment we die, we're going to end up in beginnership areas, something we didn't know how to do. So
Right.
if we're going into that knowing like, okay, just is what it is, nothing's wrong. I didn't do anything wrong, but now I need to find the person to ask. It's so powerful.
One of the things I talked about, like you're right, hiring the right people for you is essential. Like everything you said, but also, and if you know it's not the right fit, then it's not the right fit. Like I want to say that too, like because I feel like a lot of times we come from, but I need to make the money. We come from that desperation part. I guilty as charged. I've absolutely done this myself, and it never felt right, and it didn't feel right because it wasn't true to who I was. So I want to invite people when you're asking for help. If it's uncomfortable because your instinct is telling you this doesn't feel right because I don't think we'll work well together, that's fine. If it's saying I'm scared shitless, but I know this is going to be good for me, that's when you, that's because that's what I did, right? I was the most money I ever spent when I started Tracy's course because I was scared out of my mind, but I also knew that this was the best thing for me. So I just want to add that little piece into it. Because a lot of times the fear is not necessarily the fear, it's something else.
Absolutely. Yeah. So well said. What feels hardest about putting all of those things into motion? Are there any areas where you feel especially uncertain or unclear or stuck?
My life right now. No, I'm kidding. What I'll say is not necessarily unclear and unstuck. I think, for me, last year was a very lifey year. A lot of personal changes were going on last year for me. And I ended up having to take a step back from my business, which is why partly I have a full-time job. And I think what was hardest was doing that actually. What I think was hardest, I don't love the word hard, no offense, but I don't. But I think what was hardest was actually acknowledging that I had to take the step back from it. I had to do what was really in the moment for me and take a step back from my business and go back to working full time, which is not something I wanted to do at all. And boy, like my friends were saying to me, like it's going to serve the purpose that it's going to serve. And so I spent a lot of time last year lifing and feeling the feelings and, feeling like I was going to fall under rock and all the things. And I think the hardest thing was acknowledging that. And I think a lot of the times the hardest thing is when life happens, however life happens, because it's going to happen. We're human. Is what do we then do with it? And how does that affect our business? Because what I have found, because we're not brick and mortar, so to speak, right? It's so easy to not do it. And I think that, the stuckness and everything is, well, I'm feeling this way, so I'm not going to do it. Right. Or I'm tired and I'm not going to do it and that kind of a thing. So I think it's again, like I say, the mind body connection and really understanding if do I need an hour to take an hour or like Maya had to put it aside and now that I feel myself again, I can work it again. And the stuckness, when a lot of times people say clarity or they're stuck, it's really because we've been in our own stories for so very, very, very long. And we're stuck in those stories and we don't see the way out of those stories. So the hardness and the stuckness is really, I think, a lot of times out telling ourselves that story. Um, when in reality, listen, are there hard days? Of course, they're hard days. Or, there are going to be moments, there's going to be moments. But I also think the stuckness and the hard is an identity that we may be stuck in and a story we may be stuck in as well.
Yes, I want to just acknowledge you so much and celebrate you because everything that you're saying, yeah, it takes courage. And like you said, stepping away, although not stepping away, just taking some action, like getting a full-time job, that is actually so powerful because
Mhm.
everything, as you know, you're a trained transformational coach and leader. And until we acknowledge something, we can't, there's nothing we can do if we're still ignoring something. And I see this there are so many people when I hear people that they're like, yeah, well, I still have this job and I have this full-time job, I'm always like, good, keep it for now. That sets you up actually for such long-term sustainability because you can give things sometimes take time. Building a business and building a startup, it does take time. It simply takes time. And if you are broke and if you can't pay your bills and if you go into scarcity mode, your ability to think clearly is so much less. And there are some things that we have control over. I like to think of time like in two ways, although of course there's lots of ways to describe it. But we have like linear time.
Mhm.
And then we have time that's related to action steps. So, let's say there's 1,000 action steps. that it's going to take to get to a certain place in the business. Like we have some control over like how we're
Right.
taking action, but some of it we don't. Like some just takes that time. You can't do 1,000 things at once, and you don't want to be too early. And there's all these things. And so, yeah, I mean, what you're saying, it actually is, it's so wise. And to me, even on the outside, for people, it might feel, oh, I'm taking a step back. When I hear you say that, I'm like, no, you're actually being a leader. You're actually ahead of the game by your ability and willingness to acknowledge, like, hey, I need to make money and it's going to take some time and I need to be responsible and I need to take care of myself and I'm going to do this. So I just want to acknowledge you and celebrate you for that because it is hard. And so, yeah, you brought that up as being the hardest thing. And I think you're right. Taking that action. Yeah.
And I like what you were saying about scarcity mindset, because that was part of it too. Like, the scarcity mindset keeps you like, oh my God, I can't, like, it's the abundant mindset is, okay, I know this is what I need to do. It's going to be still out there for me. One of the things it's like, I have a thing now, it's done. So I'm going to have fun. Because it's all out there for us and that kind of a thing. But, it's really understanding. And to your point about acknowledgement, we can't change people we don't acknowledge and that kind of a thing. And it's really like, I'm also modeling. Like, I don't like, I'm still a student. Like, just because I teach this and I'm a coach with it doesn't mean I stop doing the work either. Right. And so that's also true for me. Like, it's a consistent, there's no there. And I want people to understand that too. There's no there. There's going to be hard moments. There's going to be moments, and something is always going to come up. It's like, I joke, like, the universe is like, how are you going to handle it, Ace? And that it's really, how do you handle it? When you're in, when you have tools, tricks, and sometimes, sometimes we don't use them. Sometimes we do. But the thing is like, to your point, the acknowledgement. It's okay. We know, and then, oh my God, yeah, I did this. Okay, cool. But I know I did this and now I can make the changes.
Absolutely. I've had not the same exact way of having to kind of like let go and release, but I'm in, my early family building years and now having to lean in and trust the cycles and the ebbs and flows. When I have a child, I have two sons now. And, before that, I didn't have my first son until I was 31. So, I all I did was work, but not in a stressful way. It's like I live and breathe my work, as a holistic practitioner. It's all I do. Like you said, I'm a student all the time. So everything that I do is also building the work that I did. So I lived and breathed my work for a decade. And of course, it looked like taking action and sitting at my desk and doing that as well. And trusting the change when, I knew it was time to lean into this next chapter of my life. And when I got pregnant with my first, it wasn't on purpose. And I've talked about this in another episode. It was a really, really scary, hard time for me. The guilt and the shame of, oh gosh, am I doing something wrong? Because that conditioning, I'm working more and doing more and it's better. And that's what I should be doing. And like, people talk so much about postpartum anxiety and postpartum depression, but I had pregnancy depression for sure. And anxiety about this, because it's like, oh no, like here's this thing I didn't realize how much I air quotes worked until now all of a sudden I feel like I'm getting tested. And I've done it now twice and I have to lean into those years of, yeah, there's nothing more important than bringing this child into the world. And no, I'm not going to take meetings. And it's been a little different with each. And I know with the next one that we have, it's going to be a little bit different and I have to get creative. But at the end of the day, I have to trust. And the mantra I've always used is, if these things are both aligned for me, which they are in this case, like my work in the world and being a mother, they're not competing.
Exactly.
They're not competing. So like for you, like if life comes up, like you have to trust that your big life change in that whole year and your divorce and you're moving out and, getting that, like that is there, like that is there for you. For me, starting my family and having children, it's aligned for me. It's not competing with my work. It's my job to trust and evolve and let go of the grips of where I had a definition of how it was meant to look so that I can let it all be and flow. And yeah, I've done it twice now. And last year was on the outside, slow business year, just based on whose definition.
Well, that's
right?
The whole other podcast episode.
Right.
But it's entirely different. We go like, I don't know, rabbit hole, but I want to acknowledge the hell out of you right now, because that's gorgeous. Because when you said about the pregnancy, depression, and also like how it looks different, that did not happen with me. So I was working in corporate America when I was 32 and 37 when I had my kids. I'm 57 now. And I did not. I absolutely was like, because there used to be an Angelique commercial. I bring up the bacon and fry it up in a pan kind of a thing, and we can do it all. But it was on top of guilt and shame and hustling and just all these ridiculous things that put upon us. And so there was a lot of guilt and shame and a lot of things going on when I became a mom, and I did feel it was competing. So I want to highlight what you just said about that, because that's the reclamation I'm seeing, not just with women of young children, but women even my age who are like, no, 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 this can't compete anymore. We can. The abundance mindset is we can have both, and we can have it both in the way that we'd like to have it both. And I think back to the original question about being hard, I think it's also hard sitting in the uncomfortable, sitting in the shit, so to speak, and trusting the process and knowing that it's already done. So we're going to have some fun and whatnot, because we're so not used to that line of thinking.
If this doesn't happen with your work and getting it to where you want it to be, what's the cost?
Oh, I just got the chills when you said that, actually. This is such a unbelievably amazing question. Honestly, it's not even about monetarily speaking. For me, it's not being fully expressed. And for so long, I wasn't. So for me, I was very much shrinking and hiding and not speaking my voice all the time the way I wanted to speak my voice, contorting. I talk a lot about this in my TED Talk too, but like that was very much the case for me. And I know a lot of women as well like that. And so for me, that's the cost. The cost is not being able to be true to me, true to who I am. And by not being true to who I am, it affected every aspect of my life, every aspect of my life. So being the disco ball and shining my brightness and shining my light means that I get to be who I truly am. So that is the cost is really not being me.
Yeah. Huge.
It that was one of my biggest aha moments in the last year or so, was that, because originally when I just became a coach, became an identity evolution, I was actually going to help my health and wellness. I was doing health and wellness network marketing at the time. And I was going to actually help my health and wellness clients with mindset. And it has evolved into, no, we are not like it. It wasn't even market research. It's my own life experience, quite frankly, and just in speaking with other women, that we have never shown up as who we, in some way, shape, or form, we've hid, shrunk, people please, in the form of people pleasing, codependency and other, but the good girl, that kind of a thing. And because of it, we've adapted different behaviors and different ways of being, and being able to be true to who we are and not giving a shit about what everybody thinks or wants or whatever, and setting boundaries. To your point, like you're not taking meaning, that's a boundary, by the way, fun fact, which is amazing, has been exponentially, I feel much lighter and I feel much different. And I feel like I'm shining my light, and people can see that and people notice that. But every aspect of my life is exponentially changed and different because I am.
Celebrating you.
Thank you.
Yeah. Caren, thank you so much for joining me today to have this conversation. Thank you for opening up and being real and honest and authentic and vulnerable, and yeah, letting us in a little with your process.
You're welcome. Thank you for creating this kind of space, by the way. I want to acknowledge you as well. I want to say thank you when I receive all of that. But I think number one, what you're doing is amazing. And number two, I want to acknowledge you for creating such a safe space that I felt that I could speak as much as I wanted. There was a safe space enough for me to say what I wanted to say.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Thank you. For those of you that are listening, if any part of this resonated, you're in the right place, please reach out. I want to hear from you and I want to connect. And if you want to reach Caren directly, the links to her Facebook, Instagram, and LinkedIn are in the show notes. Thank you again, Caren, and to everyone else, thank you for listening. And we will see you for the next episode of Ren Behind the Practice.